Hey everybody, welcome to GTM on the Go by Storylane. Excited to have Jonathan Bland on the show.
So I think the big consideration that I think a lot of people forget is that they start to treat everything on paid social as a direct response motion. And so what I always say is that we need to make sure that we're separating different types of campaigns and measuring them in different ways. And so what I mean by that is that if you guys are running a LinkedIn ads campaign, and you're targeting people that are either cold or never have heard of your brand. And so these people are net new. And so for a lot of them, like they're not going to know anything about your brand. And so we need to think about that campaign a little bit differently in the way that we optimize for it. And so pipeline, while important, is not going to be the ultimate indicator of those types of campaigns because there's a balance between create and capturing demand. Just basically saying, hey, ultimately, there's some people that are not in market and there's others that are. And those are the people ultimately that are likely going to appear in our retargeting campaigns. And so that's where it kind of gets interesting, where we say, okay, now for the people that have never heard of Storylane before, we want to move them from the cold layer down to the warm layer. That's where we want to use those campaigns. Yeah, we had a client that I'm not going to remember the exact number of what the increase was, but so I don't want to just make it up off the fly. But I do know that we had a period of time, I think it was around 3 to 6 months working with the client. They implemented a product tour on their website. Thereafter, I'm going to again give you a ballpark range. I think it was something like a 15 to 30% increase or something like that in overall website conversions. And qualitative feedback from the sales team was that the quality of the leads was a lot better. And they started to notice that a lot of people were asking less questions about how the product actually worked. And they were getting more into their specific use case and problem. And so the conversation shifted a little bit where it wasn't just like, show me how this thing works, give me another demo. And it became more of like a conversational business transaction conversation. There's a lot more of the buying process happening before they talk to sales is what I want to say. I think there's a fragile line of crossing the border of just being too out there and doing what I call pattern interruption advertising, which is the stuff where it's more memes, it's off brand, it's just completely out there in order to just grab someone's attention in the feed. I think there's a time and a place for doing those types of things, but we are at Omni Lab more a fan of making sure that we have the majority of our assets aligned directly with the brand to be very on brand. And so it means like fonts, colors, illustrations, icons, like all that stuff roped into the ad. So that then you create a really good message match between the ad and the landing page. And so, because if you get an ad that looks completely different, right, or talking, even using slightly different messaging than the website, and then you land on the page and it's like, well, what's going on here? You know, it creates this interruption in the way that we think about things, and it makes you feel like you're not in the right spot. And so when you do that and stay on brand, you get a lot more resonance and the message matches a lot better. One of the biggest pain points I think a lot of people have is that just show me the demo. I just want to see the product. I don't want to have to talk to a sales rep right now. And so for a lot of sales-led companies where they're not running a trial motion where you can get into the product, a product tour helps immensely. And so on paid social, a beautiful strategy would be you recording a video of going through a contextualized demo using Storylane, record that as a video, upload it to LinkedIn. And so what you get is some people will click through that ad and then they'll want to play around with themselves on your website. And whether your Storylane or whether your company uses Storylane or another tool like it. But the other advantage is that you can also make sure that you're getting the in-channel consumption side of it. And so you're kind of meeting buyers where they want to be. I think there's a balance also between cold and retargeting. And so some people completely forget about retargeting, like, hey man, my goal is just to get this person off this rented channel called LinkedIn ads, because I don't want to pay LinkedIn any more money. They're expensive. And I want to get them into my owned email list and invite them to all these things, which is fine. There's a case to do that for sure. It's been done for years. But then the other thing to say is, well, wait a minute, like, aren't they still on that other channel over there? It's not like they just all of a sudden spend all their time on email. They're still over here hanging out. So why in the world wouldn't we have a balanced approach? We typically split budgets around 70 to 30, cold versus warm. But again, it all depends on frequency. It depends on how big your audience is and a lot of other factors, or even budget to a degree. And so there's kind of some feeling that out, looking at the data, but that's an easy just kind of starting point, 60, 40, 70, 30, somewhere around that split. And that way you've got, a pretty good group of people that are in that retargeting layer that maybe haven't converted yet or still need to learn more about you, and you can stay in front of them.